Hello everyone, it's amazing to be here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm recording this video pretty improvised from Barcelona because I'm here to find a flat. I found one. I'm not really sure when you watch this video, maybe in a few years in the future. I don't know if the internet still exists then, but probably I will live in Barcelona then. Or maybe not anymore, who knows. Anyway, this is a edit of the live stream I recorded last week where I built a three-dimensional timeline, like a data visualization depicting the technological progress in quotes between 1985 and 1999. I just collected some data from the internet to just show you how to build a timeline with processing, which was a lot of fun actually. Data visualization is amazing, I love it. And it's even three-dimensional and you can like fly through these nodes. It's really cool. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. Let's get started. After finishing my bachelor thesis, I was creating a project I called Lifeline, and I was already doing a lot of creative coding, and I did this in the creative coding days that I organized together with Ria Stroos in her house in the northern Netherlands. Super nice event. We were about, I think, maybe 12 people or 15 people there, maybe more. I don't remember because we did this three times and it was always really nice. So coding on the countryside in a very nice country house. And there I met Luis Ferreira. And before I already created a database. So I created a database with all the events that had influence onto my life. And I did it with WordPress because I was working for a long time as a WordPress developer. So I created kind of we can actually take a look at it. It's on my computer here. But this is a database of all the events that happened in my life. Well, of course, it's not complete, but yeah, it's actually compiling the things that are influence on my life. And there are two different layers, like the global layer and the private layer. So these are things that had influence to my personal life. For example, my first day at school. Here, this is me. First day with 6 years old. And this is a global event. This was the release of the Netscape Navigator web browser. I was just collecting all this data, and this was a lot of fun. Actually, I didn't actually do it for having a database or something. It was a really nice, let's say, a retrospective and seeing what kind of events had influence onto my life. So I learned a lot about myself. For example, I started my career, my professional life as a nurse in a hospital in Cologne. When I was 19. There was not a good decision, I think, because I was not really suitable for this job. But I was planning to become a social worker or something like that. And I was working in this hospital. This was my room here in Cologne. Look at this old PC. Great, right? I created a lot of electronic music there. That was my improvised little studio. So that was super cool. My first bike trip from Paderborn to Amsterdam. There was also an opportunity to just go to the archives and collect a lot of material and even ask my father and my parents and my friends if they have something like, photos that I can use living in Münster when I studied. Look at me here. That's cool. Yeah, so this is my life as a database. And I was thinking about, I want to work with it. I want to create something with that. When I decided to, when I already was working with creative coding for some time, I decided to, do a project out of this. I was not that much skilled, but I met Luis Ferreira, who is a great creative technologist. I think he's based in Eindhoven. I think he's from Lisbon or from Portugal. And he's a Java developer as well. So he was there at the creative coding days and he helped me to build this application that generates this timeline. Let's take a look at it. So as you can see in the beginning, it goes through all these years. And in the beginning of my life, there was not a lot of material because I didn't have, the photos and the material. So, but it gets more. Adobe Photoshop was invented here. The fall of the Berlin Wall. The Nintendo Game Boy has been invented or released, and here, blue is the global level and red is the private level. Actually, this is a very abstract way to color these photos. You cannot see much on them, but yeah, I guess you cannot hear the music, so In the background, there's some ambient music going on, like just a soothing, wavy sound. Yeah, let's move to the future a bit. Here we go. So, yeah, 2014. There's a lot of photo material, of course, right? Me as a musician, and so on. That was beautiful. That was really a great project. I was thinking about creating a new version of it since quite a long time. Well, dealing with my past is something very important in my life. I'm still thinking about this question, what kind of times I'm living in, like every day. And also my master thesis just takes this question further and asks if creative coding can serve as a tool for a more reflected attitude on today's technologies and so on. So in the last week, I was getting an email by someone. I was in a university in Scotland, and I was giving a workshop there, and he said, we have seen your Lifeline project and we want to create something like a similar visualization. I don't want to tell you too much about it because it's kind of a secret, I guess. That's why I'm decided to create a prototype in a very simple way with processing, not this super over-engineered way we created it here. We used IntelliJ, and that was so weird. WordPress is, it's really heavy. Advanced custom fields. We created a headless, like a REST API for WordPress, and there was too much tech in the background. So it can be much, much easier. We will use Google Sheets for the data, and I already prepared it. And we will use processing to import that data. And actually, we can start now. Let's just see what's going on in the chat. Limt, you write, that reminds you a lot of Muriel Cooper's Information Landscapes. And so that means we are going to write the data into a Google Sheet, and I already did that. I just stripped the whole data down. I didn't want to make it too complicated. Just want a very, very simple prototype. I even don't want to separate between private and global events now. It just should be a timeline in a three-dimensional space with that data here. So what is that data that I just collected? Mostly these are things from the sphere of technological progress, in quotes. These are the things that I had in my Lifeline project as well. And of course, the Tamagotchi shouldn't be missed here in this list. This is a very, very raw piece of data, and it's not sufficient, it's not scientific, just a raw set of data that we can use and as a template. So what I can do in Google Sheets is I can go to download and say download it as a CSV file. So a CSV file is actually it's called comma separated values. And now I'm opening it in VS Code, which is my code editor I use for everything beyond processing. As you can see, these things are colored because I installed an extension, Rainbow CSV, that makes sure everything separated by comma has a different color. So actually it's a table format. It's a very raw and very simple table format where everything is separated by a comma. And when you place a comma into that text, this becomes the next column. This is super handy because actually you can export every Excel document to a format that you can load into other applications. So it's a very nice format to importing and exporting data. And now I will create a new processing sketch. What is the best way to do this? I think I will just hook up a very simple sketch now, and I will try just to load the table into the processing application here, okay? Void setup, void draw, set the size, the fundamental values. Now, load as CSV. Don't confuse it with SVG, that's something different. And here, load table, that's the function we need to use. So there's an object in processing that's called table, and CSV file is a table. So that's fantastic. We can just use that and put it into our setup function here, and that loads the table. I think this is a setting. Let's just look it up by double-clicking the function name and hitting Command-Shift-F to go to the processing reference. So header probably means that we have a header. Here it's creating the variable, and here it's loading the CSV file into that object. Here it prints the amount of rows, so the amount of lines in the table, and here it loops through all these rows with a this is, I don't know how that's called. Maybe some of you know how that kind of for loop is called, where you loop through an array of objects. So I don't know, that's a special way of writing a for loop. Here it gets a specific column by addressing the header information. So row.getInt says get an integer from the column ID. So here string species says row get string, so get a piece of text from the column species, and string name equals to row get string name. This is really, really handy. Actually, it's really, really helpful. Very nice. That's cool. Processing is such a great tool, right? It's just has all these functions that we need here. I often think about processing as a Swiss Army knife, because if you work with data and processing, especially like JSON objects and so on, it's a little bit clunky. It feels, you know, not super convenient, but it works. And that's the most important thing. It's not like a very highly professional fish knife when you cook something, or I don't know. It's more like a Swiss Army knife with all the things you need to do basic tasks, right? I love that about processing. It's super cool. For each loop. Thank you, Cedric. It's called a for each loop here. Well, that's great. Actually, we can copy paste that code from here to print line the things in here. Let's just copy paste the whole thing here. Exactly, Stick. That's true. A header is the first line in the CSV file. I mean, let's just take a look at it. So this is the header. This defines how these columns are called. So this is the header, like title, year, month, and day. These are the titles, these are the years, and so on. We can address these columns with these keywords, like title, year, month, and day. Of course, we have to change these values here. ID is not right anymore. So the first thing we want to have is like I would just move that down here. It's called string title. Row.getString, yeah, the title of the object. And then we want to have the year, which is an integer. That's why we are going to use that line here. Int year is equal to row.getInt year. And we have to put the first letter uppercase to make sure it's properly displayed. And also we can now print line that. Let's see if that works. Print line title plus maybe a space in between, and then year. Of course, there has to be a plus as well. Okay, what's wrong? Okay, of course, I have to rename it. I have to save it first. Let's save this to my Livestream folder. I will call this timeline _02. Save it, and then I have to drag this file to that sketch. And the file was called Lifeline data. So let's see if we can pull it from Google Sheets directly. That would be amazing. I mean, imagine that would mean that people could fill a table in real time, and you can pull the data into processing at any time you want and create a visualization out of that. That's so nice. Get CSV data from Google Sheets via URL, file, share, publish to the web. Publish to the web, easy peasy. Yeah, that's great. Ah, here we go. Amazing. Look. Here's comma separated values. I want to share this first and publish. Yes, I want to publish it. Wow. Look at this. This is amazing. So let's store this as a string. Let's call this endpoint, because that's the right term that people use in software development. Endpoint equals to that. So an endpoint is like a point on the internet that you can connect to an application, and it delivers data. Or we can also call it API, an application programming interface. And yeah, that would be the right way to put it, to call it, to name it, right? So let's see if that works. Oh my goodness, I'm excited. Illegal argument exception, no extension specified for this table, no extension. First, let's try to load the local file. See if it works. Yes, look, it works. Amazing. So here we go. This is the data that we are pulling from the file. Now the problem is we are setting here. I guess that processing is reading CSV and recognizing that we are loading a CSV file here. So if we set it back to the API, maybe let's see what happens when we say CSV here, comma CSV. Ah, wow. Thanks. So helpful. Stick, you are the best. Header, comma, CSV. So I can add multiple options to that string. Oh, CVS is of course wrong. CSV, loading it. Oh my God, it works. I can't believe it. This is so crazy. So in theory, we all could now collect the data. Maybe we do this in another live stream, like collecting data together, and then we can work with the data in real time. That's amazing. Oh my God, I love that. That's so great. My head is exploding of ideas now, what we could do with it. I want to highlight a project that I always find very inspiring when I'm speaking about Google Sheets. So Yevan Song is one of my favorite artists out there. I also made an interview with her. I will put that into the show notes. She does a lot of collaborative kind of work with Google Sheets. So that's really, really nice. She uses Google Sheets as a data source and often asks her students in her workshops to create like maps, which is crazy. Her work is just absolutely mind-blowing. I could speak about this for hours. So what you see here, I think this is based on a Google spreadsheet. So this landscape here, right? It's based on, she created this with CSS, HTML and JavaScript, but the data comes from a spreadsheet from the internet, which is absolutely mind-blowing. So she creates levels and maps, kind of maps that you can use and that you can create with Google Sheets as a map editor and then walk through these maps in three-dimensional spaces built for the web browser, which is absolutely mind-blowing. The tool horizon, breaking the tool horizon. Okay, I'm getting lost in other topics here, trying to keep track. So now let's create an array of all the years that we have, or of the time span that we want to cover. Let's say we have an int array, which is called years, and we will say years should be an array, and we start at 1990. Well, that's something I forgot to explain. I'm just covering the 90s here. So this is very simplified, as I said. It's not really the Lifeline project. So the first thing is we have is the World Wide Web, whatever that means, and Napster. So maybe you've used Napster as well to download music illegally. Don't do that. It's very bad. Let's create an array for the years: 1991, 1992, 1993, 1994, 1995. 1996, 1997, 1998, 1999, and yeah, 2000. Maybe we can also add 1989. Yeah, that's cool. Now the first thing I would do here is I would create a kind of a timeline. I would try to map these values to on the x-axis. I don't want to go 3D for now. I just want to go, jump and run mode, 2 dimensions from left to right. Let's see how that works. Let's just create a line of the years. First of all, we distribute the years on the x-axis, and then we can put these events from the sheet, from the CSV file or from the API as dots into that timeline. Let's try if that works. Now, we create a for loop. Yeah, we create a for loop. Int I equals to 0, I smaller than years dot length I plus plus. And now we get the int, the year from that array, int y equals to years, square brackets and I. This is the current year. And I think it also makes sense to create a margin between the years. Let's say float m or a margin is equal to, let's say 50 for now. So I was thinking about distributing the elements to the sketch window, like, that they all fit in, but it doesn't make any sense because when the timeline goes 3D, the end of the timeline is very far away. So let's just work with 50 for now. I have to import a font to display that text. Yeah, let's take sans.tf, and I will create a variable called pfont, font. And I will say font equals to create font, sans.otf, comma, and then the maximum font size. Let's set it to 1000, even though it doesn't make any difference. Okay, then we say text font should be font, text size should be 20 maybe, text line should be center, fill should be white. Okay, I think that's enough. And now, we have to distribute it. Let's first of all maybe translate the whole system to the center of the sketch window. Translate width divided by 2 and height divided by 2. And here we go. So now we can say something like push, like creating a new matrix, pop, translate I times margin. I think there was a name. Yeah. I times margin is the x position and the y position should be 0. Oh, okay, of course we have to put the text here. So text. Okay, text is y, comma, 0, comma, 0. And now we should see all these years. What's going on here? Oh, there was a semicolon missing. Type mismatch. Can I convert from int to int? Of course, I have to put square brackets here. Amazing, now it works. Great, amazing. That's exactly what I wanted. The timeline now starts in the very center of the sketch window, right? And we have all the years. Actually, we could do this much simpler. I think that maybe that was a stupid way to put it. I don't need an array of years because years are just integers that increment, right? But anyway, that's, yeah. Lesson learned, but that's fantastic. I mean, now we have this on the x-axis, but you know, later on, just moving it to the z-axis, like turning this around and making this a three-dimensional thing where we fly into, is not that difficult from here. What's more difficult now is displaying the data. Let's say we just want to have yellow circles on this line when there's an event. Okay, let's say fill. We set the fill color to yellow. That should be in the draw loop and not in the setup. Looping through the table. We already did this here, so we can do it here as well. Through the years. Maybe it makes sense to write the logic a little bit differently than I thought. Let me think. So instead of creating a second loop and looping through all the events, we could also loop through the years and ask in the loop, is there something that happened in that year, right? Because here we have the year, and then we can ask the question like, hey, what happened in 1995, for example? I think that would be a little bit more elegant and easier to read. And also, we already translated the whole thing to the appropriate position, so we don't have to repeat that. We don't have to repeat formulation of this line here. That's cool. I think that would be nice. But that would mean that we have to loop through the tables every time the for loop is executing. So we would have to ask for every single year, is there something in the table? That means it would loop through the table every time the, well, that, I think both solutions are, not ideal, but okay, let's not over-engineer this. So, okay, let's just do this. I will just move that piece of code into the matrix here. So here we are creating a new coordinate system for each year, and every time we will go through this. Okay, let me just put the coloring to the right spot here. So here we are, we are filling the text, and here we are filling the circle that we want to display later when there's an event. So now we are looping through the table row every time we are generating a new little year. We don't want to print line it, and we don't need that string for now. So what we need is if year is equal to y. Look, because y is the year from the array of the years, and year here, this variable year is the year that we get from that table. That means we have to say something like if, I mean, these are terrible variable names. Terrible variable. That should be this is the title for my next live stream. Terrible variables. Okay, we have to ask if year is equal to y. And I guess I lost some of you guys because you probably are not able to follow anymore. This is quite deep shit here. This is quite deep stuff. So we are doing something that is not really simple. But anyway, let's move on. So if y is equal to year, then create a circle. Circle 0, okay, this is the x position, and I just lift it up by 40 pixels and I set the size to 20 pixels. That actually should work. Yeah, that should work. I will also deactivate the stroke here, and let's just run the sketch and see what happens. Oh my goodness, it's very busy. Wow! Here we have the circles, and we maybe can create a mouse interaction to make sure we can move these lines, move these circles to left and right by translate minus mouse X. Wow, look, there's something inside each year. Let's see. Okay, 1990, 1991, 1992, 1993, 1994, 95, 6, 7, 8, 9. So let's say instead of 1998, we will change this to 2000. Save it. It should actually be updated live when everything works the way I expected. No, because there's still a circle. It didn't update. It didn't update it. Maybe that takes a bit of time until it's updated. I'm not really sure. I don't know. Okay, maybe let's create a second function, let's comment this out and say lifeline data.csv, and I will go to that CSV file now and delete these lines with 1999, 1998 and 1999, save it and see if there are, look, this is perfect. Okay, now it's, as you can see, here is no yellow circle anymore. Okay, it's working, actually. It's working. It's not updating in real time. So the Google spreadsheet is not updating in real time, but it's okay. That's fine. It's just how it is. We also could display the string from the table row called title to show the text. I'm just looking into the chat right now. Okay, you understand what's happening. I think this is the most important thing, right? It's not about, you probably won't be able to reproduce this exactly like that, but that's fine. The most important thing is that you see the principles that I'm applying here. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me, because that makes the thing much more enjoyable for you as well, right? So feel free to ask your questions. Int, no, not int, it is a string. I call it title. And get row, get string. I will create a new matrix here, push, pop. So that means I'm creating a new coordinate system to also put the transformations that I'm applying to the circle here into a whole little matrix. So everything is just, how to say that? Like translated when I also put the text in here. But okay, text. Title, yeah, look, we could rotate the text by 45 degrees to make sure it's not, it's not overlapping the circles. So we could do this by creating another matrix, keeping the circle in that one here, closing that matrix as well here in the below, and then setting the position of the text to 0, 0. And say rotate radians minus 45. Let's see if that works. But we should be able to read the text, and some of them should overlap now. Wow, look at this. So the thing is that the text, the text align is still set to center. That's why they are also weirdly positioned. We have to put the text mode here to left center. Text aligned, sorry, text aligned, not the text mode. And also pull the text a little bit to the top, minus 30, right? Can you see that? That looks already pretty much like a timeline, right? So this is pretty awesome. It's working. This already works pretty well. Awesome. Really cool. I'm so happy that I learned this with the API. That's fantastic. What's next? I have an idea. As you can see, the things are overlapping, and to make sure that they don't, we want to pull the second element a little bit more to the top. Okay, so again, we are inside of that for loop. We are looping through the table every time in the for loop, in the draw loop, right? Also in the for loop. So we are looping through the table. That means we could create something like a counter. Int count should be equal to 0. So when y is equal to year, that means, hey, there's a year, or it matches, there's something happening in the year. There's an event that has been taking place in this year. We could say something like, place it to the appropriate position, but then count up by 1. Count plus plus, right? So the counter is adding 1 to the variable. So when it's 0, it adds 1. That means it is 1. That from here we can say we translate the text by minus 40 times count. That means the second element inside of that year will be pulled 80 pixels to the top and not 40 anymore. Let's see if that works. Oh my goodness. It works so nicely. You see that? So each year now has the years with multiple elements. Oh, wow, I love that. Now I would like to make sure that the typography sits in the right position. Maybe you see that the text is not really bound to the point here anymore. Count is 0. Actually, when count is 0, it shouldn't be dragged to the top anyway. Or am I dragging the text here? Oh, wow. Okay, I'm dragging it here as well. Okay, got it. That means here I want to set it to 0. Now I can just move it to the right, 20 pixels. Right? That works very well. And now I have to drag the whole thing here a little bit to the top. So -50, -40, -40. That's probably the right way to put it. Yes, here we go. That's great, amazing. And as you can see, it works now. As you can see, 1998, there's no data in here anymore. So let's just go back to that document and set it back to 1998. So in a few minutes it should be updated. Let's see if that's true. Also, let's maybe extend the margin to 150 to make sure we don't have too many overlaps on the horizontal axis. Look, now it gets much simpler to read. This is beautiful, isn't it? Yes, amazing. Maybe I just want to make it a little bit more bold. Height divided by 2 plus height divided by 4. Yeah, that's great. So this is really beautiful, I think. Even though there are still overlaps, probably we have to extend the margin between these years. Otherwise, we cannot avoid these overlaps. But yeah, actually it just works, and I'm so amazed by that. That's really cool. Our stick writes just make count equals to 1 as default. What does it mean? Count equals to 1 as default. Ah, okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's a good idea. So I don't need to make this calculation here, right? All right, okay. But I will keep it as this. It's just running. That's fine. Now I'm thinking about the following. As you can see, we are distributing these elements now on 2 dimensions, like, you know, on the x-axis. This is a 2-dimensional thing. And I'm going to save a state, and I will also upload it to the Patreon and to the post when the cut is done, so you can see it on my download on Patreon and also my website. And in this version, I would like to make it 3-dimensional. So I will go to size. This is the function where I set the renderer from P2D to P3D. And since I'm working with text, I need to set the shape mode to text mode to shape to make sure I get crisp fonts. Otherwise, it looks very crappy at some points. Some characters are not really nicely rendered. Okay, same result. Now, instead of distributing the things on the x-axis, I would like to distribute them on the z-axis. So let me just go to my website, I'll show you something. Courses, the third dimension. This is my course on 3D in processing and 3D matrix basics. So this is the coordinate system, right? We have y and x. So y is the vertical axis and x is the horizontal axis. But there's also another one when we enable the P3D renderer, the three-dimensional renderer in processing, which is z. That means we can place elements now in the depth of the scene. So it's not anymore a canvas, like a 2-dimensional canvas. Now it's a scene where we can place things. And we also will place a camera later on into the scene. But okay, step by step. First of all, I think putting the camera into the scene is a good idea, because then we can change the perspective from a very front view to a view from above onto the scene. So I will copy that piece of code from my course. The camera is a lesson from my course, the third dimension. We'll copy that code snippet. That's always how I do it. I just store my code snippets in my courses. That's so handy, right? I just go to my course and then just get it from there. Okay, I will put that into here. Also, I have to fix something, I think, because the perspective has to be adjusted. Let me see if I have the perspective function anywhere here on my website, because there's a hack I need to use. Oh yeah, that was from another live stream where I created this digital world. I think some of you guys have been in the stream when I created this visual here, which was crazy, like something I created in, I think, 4 days or something. Stick, the idea of putting the sketch into these elements themselves was your idea, right? That came from you. So nice. Okay, great. Here's the code from that. So I have to go here and just copy paste the perspective function here, this one, that makes sure that things are not cut in the periphery. The thing is that in processing in 3D spaces, there's a huge black a huge rectangle. In this case, it's black because it's called background, very far away, but it cuts at some 1,000 pixels in the depth of the scene. It just cuts elements, and that's why we use the perspective function. This is the hack we need to use, how to say that, to disable this feature. Okay, the camera is now set to standard, where everything should be the same as before. It's a 3D scene, even though it's not really visible. And now I will go to this line of code here, which translates the whole thing. Wait, let me think. Okay, this is the place where we translate the things on the x-axis, right? So I have to cut that out from the x position and put that into the z position to not distribute it on the x-axis, but on the z-axis. Let's see if that works. Whoa, it works already. Nice. Wait. Let's see. That's a very surprising result. Actually, I didn't know that it's already working so well. Let's create a function. Let's make sure we can move in the scene. And for that, we create some keyboard interaction. Void key press. Sorry, not void key press, but here. We say if key pressed, when the key is pressed. So if key is equal to W, so we will create kind of a very crappy WASD navigation. Then, okay, we need a variable, which is the position on the Z, or the camera position, or let's say the scene position. Let's just call it position. Float pause equals to 0. Pause plus equal to 20. And then if key is equals to S, plus minus equal to 20. So that means here we can put that variable. I'm totally losing concentration, to be honest. It's very difficult for me right now to do all this at the same time. Oh, yeah, cool. Stick says, we desperately need P5's orbit control and processing. Ben Fry-Casey-Rias, are you listening? Yeah, guys, that's true. So orbit controls are really, really handy. They are built into Three.js. I didn't actually know that they work with P5 as well. So that's really cool because then you can pinch and zoom into things. And, you know, it's really a great way to navigate in 3D scenes. And actually, it would be great to also have the possibility to create a WASD navigation. Oh my God, look at this. It works. We are flying through time. That's absolutely amazing. So I can go through, wow, this is so nice. Okay, so a WASD control is what people use in computer games, right? So W is going to front, S is going backwards, and so on. It's really, really nice. And there's a very cool library called QueasyCam, which implements that, but unfortunately not in a configurable way. Okay, let's check it again. So the thing is that we are now flying through the scene. Maybe we can make it a little bit more interactive by creating the possibility to move the eye of the camera between left and right. So plus map mouse x, comma 0, comma width. So we are controlling the IX position, comma minus 400, comma 400. And that should give us some control over the position of the angle. Yes, here we go. I love that so much. This is amazing. This is just amazing. I love that. And I think this is even a fantastic result for the stream. I didn't expect that we come that far, to be honest. And when I just remember how much tech we dropped onto that project when we created this Lifeline project back then, it was absolutely crazy, be strange. And this is a very simple, actually a very aesthetic version of that Lifeline. All right, I will put my my beautiful script into that sketch. Utilities, so TRCC, utilities. It's a piece of code I drop into every sketch, and there's a beautiful video renderer in it. It just utilizes the video export library, and it's here, right? Utilities, and all I have to do now, I have to go to the draw loop and say rec 30 frames per second, and I want to export. Let's say 720 frames, and now it renders a video in real time. So we can, it's rendering a video right now, right? So I can post this on Instagram or whatever, use it in my courses. Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. Jill said it was very enjoyable. Yeah, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it as well. Actually, to be honest, you know, recently I gave lots of talks, or for me, it is not really difficult anymore to give talks. I'm not too nervous, but this time when I started this this live stream here, I was really nervous. Like, I was like, okay, is this going to work out? Isn't this too difficult? Didn't I want too much at the same time? And I see, no, it works. Especially through the chat, I can get your help and communicate with you, which is just amazing. So for me, that's a wonderful possibility to also learn about your questions and get feedback to my projects here. Thank you so much for the positive feedback from the chat. It's awesome to hear. Since there are no questions, I think, maybe we can just end this stream, and I say thank you so much. I will go live now every 2 weeks. That's what I'm planning. Maybe not in a very regular rhythm, but I'll try to go live every month, like 2 times. I have loads of things on my list. I will even publish a Google form with the question of what kind of streams you would like to see. So what kind of projects and things I should build here. And I'm very happy to hear from you what you would be interested in. If you have something that you would like to see how that works, I'm very happy to show you that in a future live stream. Of course, subscribe to the channel and make sure you don't miss any of them. So that's it from me. I wish you a fantastic weekend as well, and looking forward to see you maybe in 2 weeks. Bye-bye, and all the best for you.